Alright guys, thank you for tuning in to Prepper Guy. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned to this video. I'm going to let you know why the elite are building bunkers. On to the news. The elites are building bunkers. There's good information online that the elites are getting ready for something. The Russian Federation, less than 3 days after the internet has posted it, the Russian Federation and their allies are preparing for a biological attack against Russia. This information has been received from people that are in the know. They are in government positions. If it's actionable, do what you need to do to prepare for this. But less than 3 days later after this notice, the Russian Federation is proving to the US that the US is, the documents that Russia has is proving that the US is providing funding, support, technological advances, and the know-how to create biological weapons that would be used against the Russian Federation. We know some people that are in the military that are preparing for this same sort of thing. They have their NBC masks, their suits, they're training for this sort of thing. Whether or not something like this is going to happen, we don't know. We're not privy to that information. All we know is that people are preparing for it. Militaries are preparing, governments are preparing, and it's a good idea, if they're preparing, to prepare your family. That means if you have a plan that when this biological attack or nuclear attack or chemical attack goes into play, you have a plan for you and your family. Just kind of think up how you're going to handle it, where you're going to go, where you're going to meet up, what items you need at a new location, if you need to go to a new location. Do you know which windows need to be covered up, boarded up? Do you know which doors need to be barricaded? Do you know which areas of your house are the leakiest? If there is wind blowing from a certain direction and the wind in that biological, chemical, or nuclear agent is blowing into your house, then you have a real problem. Knowing where these areas are, being proactive in stopping air from flowing through these areas, that's going to be paramount. Securing your door against anybody being able to break the door, that's going to be insanely important as well. Doors from the manufacturer and contractors are they're installed with very short screws, and they are not in any way going to stop somebody from kicking down the door. Regarding the air, do you have plastic? Do you have Gorilla Tape? Do you have different air filters? Do you even have just a dust mask is better than nothing, but an NBC filter would work 10 times better. It might never happen. It would be horrible if it does, but just make sure that you have the preps for it. Multiple questions were asked regarding the Washington violation of a nuclear biological convention concerning the nomenclature and the number of pathogenic microorganisms, and the funding and the studies under a biological threat reduction program. There's been research, according to these reports, conducted on European soil by military personnel concealing the facts of multiple biological military components that are being used or will be used in an act of warfare. We must take into account that these strategists say that the experience of recent conflicts, it's now assumed that the Russian military has been accused of using chemical weapons. This would allow for the launching of an anti-Russian campaign in the United Nations that rolls over as a biological component. Now, these are massive allegations that with recent events that we've experienced in the last couple of years that are huge. I mean, if these go down, you will end up with multiple thousands of dead people and bigger repercussions in those situations. I don't know if there's any validation. You know, this is all conjecture. These are news stories, but we all know how the news organizations are controlled. But I do have to say that it's really weird that this is all coming out at the same time. On top of all of that, there's shortages that are occurring because two of the world's largest shipping firms are suspending all travel through the Red Sea following a surge of recent attacks on vessels that are American allies, or Israeli allies. It's starting to call the U.S. military in, and they're basically saying, everyone else is saying to the U.S. military, why aren't you protecting us? Why aren't you doing your job? Your job is to create freedom of navigation through international waters. That's a big issue. As soon as there's no freedom of navigation through international waters, you're basically rewinding time back to where there were pirates, and it is insanely unsafe to travel. And what that will do is just prevent goods to make it from one port to the next, and that will increase insurance costs on these vessels. That will increase transport costs. You will have to have small militaries, vessels following these to defend them, and it's going to make the receiving of goods that we're used to, cheap products from across the world, very difficult to be cheap. The U.S. Navy is really coming down hard on these pirate organizations and rebel groups that fire off missiles, hitting these shipping containers, hitting these ships, using drones with explosives on them. You don't know where they're hidden. I think this is really going to be the next turning point. You're going to end up with a situation where goods and services are expensive, more expensive than they have been already, and on top of the other hacking issues that we're seeing, banks being shut down over the past month or two. They were having a hard time making deposits. On top of that, there was a power outage yesterday in New York. Just little bits of havoc being caused here, there, and everywhere, and you add it all together, and there is a lot of distraction happening. And whenever there's distraction, it makes a more important thing easier to achieve from a foreign government standpoint. So definitely time to start preparing. Yeah, please like and subscribe. We'll have some more news tomorrow. Prepper Guy out.